Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the the Blues versus the Highlanders. Let's get it right the way around. Yes, this one was at Eden Park, and it's the fourth victory on the trot for the Highlanders. They won this game 16-34, and even if they were trying to play on at the end there when they perhaps, well, they ended up kicking it out, but they could have lost their bonus point. But hey, they didn't. Anyway, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a YouTube channel, podcast, website, and Twitter account, bringing the best in rugby predictions and all that kind of stuff. And with me this evening is David. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Not so bad. A bit cold down here in the Naki, but apart from that, all good. This starts an absolute shocker for the Blues, isn't it? With that charge down try early doors.
Yeah, 38 seconds, and not sure what was going on. There was no blocking. Terrible pass way up here, and yeah, horror stuff. And you thought that it was just going to continue like that if that's how the game started.
You did, didn't you? And must admit, the commentators made a lot out of the fact that there was no blocking and that Gatland got charged down, but they didn't really make much out of the fact that Ruru put that pass way out of his grasp, and that really was a poor pass. It gave him no. It was a bit of a hospital pass really for him for that kick. Yeah. And which is one of the things we've been saying about the Blues for a long time. I remember talking about my Higher West and saying that how everyone's like, oh, he's awful, he's so slow getting the kicks off. Wait, he's going to be slow if he's putting his hands up here the whole time. So it's not a new thing by the Blues by any stretch of the imagination. And then they backed it up with another try 4 minutes in. Off the line out, bash it over. 12-0, 4 minutes up, game's over.
Yeah, 4 tackles, and those would be the only tackles the Blues would have to make for the next 20 minutes. So, yeah, it was looking pretty bad at that point. But again, you know, this Blues team I kind of compare them to a bunch of kind of high school players sometimes, and that they're not there for the 80 minutes throughout the game, but particularly around those first kind of 5 minutes. They just seem to come on and want to ease into the game, and you've got a professional team like the Highlanders that come in and just take those opportunities straight away.
They did, and whilst you say that the Blues then didn't have to tackle for the next 20 minutes, that's because the Highlanders didn't want to play with the ball.
Yeah, and the commentator, or the Sky commentators at least this year, have in a big habit of saying that at least kind of a dozen times throughout the game that the Highlanders don't like to play with the ball, and it doesn't make sense if you try and think about it too hard, but then you look at the stats afterwards and you just, yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the halftime stats later, but it worked.
Yeah, you're right, it did work, but it also allowed the Blues to get their hands on the ball, get through a few phases and get themselves their points back. 8 minutes in, so they didn't take too long about it. Ruru goes over for his score. Good skills to get it down. This comment of wasn't under control, but it went backwards, so all okay. It's all getting confusing, isn't it, as to what can and can't you do, and how do you not have to put the ball down? I just thought you just had to have basically contact with the ball, but now there's this control. For those of you listening to podcasts, I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah. So there's no downward pressure required anymore, but you have to be in control. But in this case, there was downward pressure, but he didn't have control, but it was going backwards. So yeah, just wait for what the ref says, I guess. Can't keep up.
No, same here. It looked fine to me in the fact that basically the ball and his hand didn't show a gap, therefore it was in contact the whole way down. Try for me. So yeah. I was comfortable with it either way. He did well to get it down, I thought. But they had quick ball. They went right. I was thinking, oh dear, they've run out of players. There's too many defenders there. But they got it over. To me, it was they got lucky in that case. So the decision making throughout this game was a little bit poor, really.
Yeah. We skipped over as well. What do you think about Highlanders' second try? Double movement or momentum?
To me, for those of you who didn't see it, Highlanders' second try, they were bashing away. The player went down short of the line with another player on top of him. The ruck ensued, and then basically more Highlanders players arrived, and the whole ruck just moved over the line, and therefore he was holding it down. So no, it wasn't double movement by him. But should he have released the ball quicker? Maybe. So maybe it was holding on, but you're allowed to hold on as long as no one is trying to challenge you for the ball. So I was comfortable with that. Then Blues choose to kick sticks, which was opposite to what the Highlanders did early on. And it was interesting to see the Highlanders switch tactics in this, in that early doors they went for the corner and got the try. And then after that, they started kicking sticks with Sopoaga not really kicking very well initially. It was a bit of a surprise that I think they only lost one line out all game from memory. We actually pull the stats up. They lost one line out of 14 all game, and they stopped going for the line out in the corner. That just didn't make any sense to me.
No, and I kind of understand the Blues taking the points when they did, and then I don't think they really got any opportunities after that for a penalty, or didn't get them anyway. And you can kind of understand the Blues doing that after what the Sharks did to them, and accumulating points. But that's not the Highlanders game. They strike fast, and it didn't work. Sopoanga's kicking was a bit woeful in that first half.
Yep, it was. So it was very, very strange while they were doing that. The Blues, when they got their penalties, were generally down to keeping hold of the ball. I thought the ball retention was okay this evening, and both sides turned it over. And oh geez, I'm going to now regret saying that. The Blues conceded 17 turnovers. The Highlanders conceded 20. But as you say, that's not the Highlanders' game. The Highlanders don't want to go through phases. They want to have broken field play and get points. So that's no big deal for them, really.
Yeah. And Blues, to be fair, looked pretty composed for a good 30 minutes of that first half. It was just the first 5 and the last 5-ish that and that's where the points were getting scored, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They did get a let off with a forward pass. There was a try in there when the forward pass hit someone's head, and we had the Falcon. I think it's called.
Falcon, yeah. Would have been pretty good, pretty comical, but yeah, clearly forward. But that would have been a shocker against the run of play, to be honest. So I'm glad that one didn't go through.
It didn't, but that's where they actually started taking over play, because Thompson made a lovely break, and then the forwards played like backs. Basically, suddenly it was like, oh no, we have all these forwards in the backs. Can they pass? Can they draw and pass? And yes, they can. Which puts a nice try out wide. And then we had a penalty going over just before half time, which was again, as you said, surprising from the Highlanders, but meant they led 11-20 11-20 at half time.
Yeah, and those stats at half time, which I just thought they were pretty full on, was the run meters. The same amount of run meters, but for half the runs, and 2-to-1 position in territory. Like all the stats are all there for the Blues, but the conversion rate of the Highlanders is just brilliant. So not Blues. I'd say we're winning probably 28 to 30 minutes of that first half, and but not at the right times, the start and the end of the half.
It was, but the tackle ratio for this game was down. They only had to make 24 tackles in that first half, but they only made 67% of them, whereas the Highlanders had to make 78 tackles in that first half, making 87% of them. So the defence for the Blues was poor. And you saw that in the clean breaks. Now, it evened up towards the end because the Blues got a few clean breaks towards the end, but it ended up being 6-9. 5 of those clean breaks were in the last 20 minutes from memory from the Blues. Whilst they had the ball, they were going through the phases, they just weren't breaking down that defence, and they just couldn't get the clean breaks. Whereas the Highlanders, as you say, for 20-25% of the possession, were making 5 or 6 times more clean breaks.
Shows the kind of difference. Without some of their kind of first-tier players as well, so or first-choice players. So they would have been pretty stoked, I imagine, at halftime.
Yeah, absolutely. There was comments about trying to bring on Aaron Smith in that second half, and whether that was a big problem for them. But as you say, they were leading, and without, so it wasn't really a problem. And the second half started in a similar vein to the first, with the Highlanders getting an early try.
Yeah, good team strike either side. And if I'm remembering it right, it was that kind of miracle offload, wasn't it? The kind of ended up drawing about 13 players into it, sucked them in. Yeah, good try, and good skills. And that's the difference between a team like the Highlanders and the Blues at the moment is they've got those big moments and they nail them. And that was manufacturing something out of nothing, to be honest. It was pretty spectacular.
Yep, ran wide, drew Kiriwani, offloaded the ball around the back of him. Tavita Lee picked the ball up, did the same thing again, and then Hamilton, reached over to get the try. So, yep, 11:27, and at that point I tweeted out, right, game over. That's it. That try kills it, and it did in the end. Yeah, the Blues never came back from that. That sucker. Once they took that sucker punch, it was all. It wasn't really a sucker punch. It was once they took that blow, it was all pretty much over. I think for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the attention span waned after that, and yeah, I mean there were opportunities near the end that the Blues had, but it was too much of a distance, and just silly little things that always plague the Blues. Even just no look passes, kind of strange kicks at times. Even though that their back line looked like it was a better pattern, particularly with having Rico back out on the wing, still not clicking. Even though they were winning some of the battles up front, just can't pull it together.
The one stat I didn't see in this, which I would have liked to have done, and I don't get on the online stats I get, is game line advantage. Because I reckon that a lot of, if we looked at that one, the Blues percentage whilst they had the ball, they were retaining possession, they weren't going forwards that often. My guess is they only probably had a 50 to 40% gain line advantage breaking. And I think that's where the problem is. As you say, your attention waned. For those of you who are watching on the video rather than the podcast, you can see here my notes. My notes for the first half come down to here, and then which is 3/4 of the way down the page, and then I basically sum up the second half in about 10 lines.
Yeah, interesting. When the one thing I'd say is I sometimes question the claims around Aaron Smith and how good he is, which is silly. People will be throwing stuff at me, but you noticed it. I think he came in about the 55th minute, and just immediate impact. You can see the difference he makes to that Highlanders team, and obviously the All Blacks as well. But impressive to come on and put another nail in the coffin.
It was. I mean, before that, the Blues had a scrum out in front of the posts and managed to pass the ball out into touch, and that pretty much summed up their kind of night. There was, I can remember another opportunity, or at least in the first half, where they were knocking on the Highlanders line, and again fumbled and didn't come away with points. We saw that in the second half. We went through just before Aaron Smith came on. We went through about a good 10-minute stretch where both sides just kept turning the ball over, which led to that 19 and 20 turnovers that we talked about before. Neither side could really take control of that second half until Aaron Smith came on. Added urgency, as you say, kick and go, try.
Yeah, and linked up with Ben, and off you go. But no, generally, interesting game in that clean game, I guess. Not a lot off the ball. 15 penalties all up, so not too bad. Lots of knock-ons, but generally a good game. But yeah, the result everyone expected, really, isn't it?
It is, and I thought some questionable advantage as well played by the ref occasionally. Not that I think it changed the game, but he played advantage for the Blues for a knock-on. The Blues went back 20 metres, but kept hold of the ball, and he actually calls advantage over. You're like, hang on a second, there's been no advantage here at all. Yes, they've kept the hold of the ball for the next minute, but they're 20 metres back. They've not even maintained the gain line. That's not advantage. So there was a couple of those around the place which I'd question. But yeah, other than that, I don't think the referee influenced this game.
No, pretty light touch kind of reffing, which is good for these New Zealand derbies. But probably one of the lesser exciting New Zealand derbies. But no Barretts in this. So what do you expect?
It involved the Blues. Therefore, we know who's going to win, which is not the Blues. unfortunately.
Well, what is it now? Is it 15? It is 15 now, isn't it? Yeah,
15 on the trot the Blues have lost, and it's 4 on the trot the Highlanders have beaten the Blues by, which is their longest ever winning streak. There was one more try that we're not going to bother talking about, but which was because it was too little too late by the Blues. And the Blues in that last sort of 10, 20 minutes had some great hands, some great moves, lovely rugby to watch, bringing up no points, or very few points.
And at the wrong time of the game as well. It's just there's no strategy behind what they're doing. It's just going back to the analogy. It's they look like a bunch of really talented rookies with like Parsons at the front looking like a woodwork teacher that's gone on to coach the rugby team. I just don't, they don't look like a polished unit, and they haven't for a long time. But it's you're in week 10 now. You're halfway through the season. Those combinations should be coming together, but at the same time, those combinations keep on changing. So it's
we've got to say, to be fair, the Blues have lost 18 players to injury. The Highlanders, I think, have got 3 players missing, which kind of told they decided to rest their players. But some players we should call out a couple of names.
Rob Thompson.
Rob Thompson, yep, wonderful game. There 3 clean breaks, more than anyone else in the game, including Rieko Ioane. Not that many meters made, but hey, if you're getting the clean breaks and you're passing someone else to keep the break going, who cares, really? We've got to mention Frizzle for a hat trick of tries. Admitted, even if one of those was out wide and you just had to walk in.
Big game from him. And Tavita as well, I'd say not as usual kind of barnstormer kind of game, but some pretty slick moves in there. And Nahola quite quiet in this game. And in terms of the other big names, the Ioane brothers didn't do that much really, did they?
You say Tavita Lee had a quiet game, but he made 83 meters carrying ball and was the highest ball carrier.
Well, seemed like he had a quiet game. I stand corrected.
The highest ball carrier for the Highlanders on 83 meters. 7 defenders beaten in that as well. So he had a good game. Got himself involved. You say a bit quiet by Naholo, quiet by Ben, but he was always there or thereabouts. He was always involved, whilst not perhaps breaking the game open. He was just keeping it all together for the Highlanders at times, which is, man from accounts. As you say, Rieko Ioane tried 12 passes, 19 runs for 101 meters. He got himself involved in the game, but it didn't break it out.
But maybe it was throwing down some big meters near the end of the game while I was kind of half sleeping. But and to be fair, he was switching over from wings as well. He was going over to the right wing a bit, and he was trying to get involved. But again, effectiveness, numbers versus effectiveness. The stats are interesting because
they are interesting. So again, Kiri Ioane, 23 carries. This guy really tried to get himself involved in this game for 43 meters. He was well looked after.
Sorry, was it 20 for 43? Yikes! So
20,
he's getting
23. So I say he really did get. He's going to find work, which is good to see, because previously someone like Kiri Ioane can go to sleep. This season, he's looked a much more active, energetic, mentally rather than necessarily physically in the game, which has been very good. I don't think putting Perifetta at 15 worked, but Duffy coming on played also. I thought played pretty well as well.
No, I don't. But where do you put Perifetta? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. He's becoming a bit of a conundrum himself. Oh, thank you very much for joining me, because now it is time to go watch the Brumbies versus the Waratahs versus the Lions.
The big game of the week. And it's 2 teams that you normally wouldn't bother watching as a New Zealand fan. So brilliant.
It'll be interesting to see if the Lions can travel this season. The Brumbies are not expecting that much from, but hey, home advantage should carry them over, I think. Right, thank you very much, David, for joining me.
Oh, cheers, Paul.
Cheers. And David is another one of my couple of social media ghosts. So you can't chat to him during the week. You'll have to wait till he's next on another video. But me at DrivingMaul on Twitter. Always have good old rugby chats, comments down below. Obviously, share this with all your friends, all that kind of stuff. 5-star reviews for those. podcasts, and got to rush off. Got another game to watch. Thank you. Enjoy whatever you're watching.